Okay, welcome to the British Motorcycling Group podcast. I'm Ian Richardson. So this podcast's relatively new, but the motorcycling group is in its 12th year now. So today, I'm absolutely thrilled to speak to some special guests, Neil and Damian. They're currently in Armenia, and they'll tell us where that is because I'm sure some people won't know. But they're originally from Dublin in Ireland. So welcome both of you, Neil and Damian. How's things?
Oh, not so bad yourself.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Great to talk to you.
We're having a wonderful time here in Yerevan, the capital of Armenia.
Yerevan.
Yerevan. Yes.
Yerevan. That sounds like something that Ford would make, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, only in black. Yeah.
Yeah.
We came to Yerevan. This is the end point of our second leg of our around the world adventure.
Wow. So second leg of it. What was the first leg?
Well, the first leg, we left Dublin last year and we rode 7,600 kilometers through 16 countries, all down through the Balkans. And we got to Greece and we left the bikes in Greece for 12 months.
Wow. That's amazing.
So we had a big adventure last year. It took 6 weeks last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. We knew someone who tried something like this before, and we thought, you know what, if you've got a bike at home or whatever, and we actually purposely bought these old bikes, which I'm sure we get to talk a little bit about, specifically for this journey. We did this before for a different trip, but we bought two old bikes. Mine is a Honda Transalp 1987, one of the very first 600s with the black engine, if anyone knows those.
Mine is fabulous Suzuki DR650, but it's a 1991 and it doesn't have electric start. It's kickstart only. So I've got a really big muscle on my right leg and hardly any muscle on the left. So when I walk, I go around in circles, But we've had a few issues, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had a couple of problems with those bikes, but we did choose because they're the older bikes, less electronics, nearly no electronics on.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get onto some of that issues that you've had, because I can only imagine with any bike, never mind just an older bike, but I suppose with an older bike with less electronics, it's the more chance of fixing it in without buying sensors and taking it to a specialist workshop and things, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Hopefully.
That's exactly what we thought anyway. Yeah, that suits us.
Yeah.
So far so good. We've got 11,000 kilometers away from home so far.
Wow.
Yeah, so this second leg we've done over 4,000 kilometers, and we came from Greece into Turkey, and we did a big long journey through Turkey. And we actually got to ride the D915, which is the most dangerous road in the world, apparently. And then on into Georgia, and from Georgia on into Armenia.
So, I mean, that I have ridden in Turkey actually, and I've spent a lot of time in Turkey. So, but I haven't ridden in an adventure style. If you have, I haven't gone off and done huge adventures there. So before you did your first leg of all that, and before you left your bikes after doing that last year, take me back a little bit to your background in riding. I mean, what were your first sort of bikes that you had as young lads?
Going back, I started riding. I was actually given a bike by a friend of mine. His uncle had it in the back garden for many years, and it was in bits. And they said, if you want that, have it. I was only 15, and I pushed it about 4 or 5 miles home, and I knew nothing about engines at that stage. And I started taking it apart, and I eventually found something that was broken that looked like a rocker arm. And it was a Honda CB100.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I went to Honda shop and cycled about 10 miles and I bought the rocker arm and I came home and I put it on and I kind of made it look similar in terms of the gap and all, like to the other one that was on it. And that was grand. And I pushed it to start it because there was no kickstart, and because the driveway of the house was on a hill, and when I pushed it down the hill, there was no cars coming on. I went out on the road, it started, and as I turned to come back in, a police car pulled up. And I got done. I got 5 points. I had to go to court and everything. I was only 15.
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I've always had love of bikes since even school days. On my way home from school, I used to see some of my friends' older brothers with an old Triumph 500 kickstart bike, jumping up. These guys in their 20s, jumping up with 2 feet trying to kick this. And I thought, wow, listen to this thing when it roars. And this got me into bikes. And so when I got old enough, back in Ireland in the day, you didn't need to, you could just go and buy your license and your insurance. So I actually couldn't ride a bike when I saved up to buy my first bike was a CD 175. Everyone had the blue ones, and I found a cherry red one. It was gorgeous, but I didn't know how to ride it. So when I went to the shop to buy the bike, the guy said to me, "Okay, if you can't ride, come around the corner up this little quiet street. This is how you start it. That's what you do to get the gear, and that's what you do to brake. You go up and down there a few times, and then off you go." And that's exactly how I got into biking.
That's
So we've
amazing.
both been biking like since early teens, and what you call us, you know yourself, it's in the blood, and you can't be without a bike.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You know, not everybody, and some people either leave it and come back to it or come into it in older life, but most of us, you're 15, you're 16, you're messing about on bikes, and then you're riding a moped or a 125 or whatever, and it never leaves you. Yeah, it's interesting. Was that old
Sometimes,
the CD 175? Was that the one with the rubber pads on the side? Did it have
yeah,
rubber tank pads?
yeah, yeah, and I had shoes front and back. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
no brakes
They
whatsoever.
didn't like going around corners, those bikes. They
No.
didn't. So there's a problem with those ones.
But after that, then kind of progressed up the ranks a little bit. I think that my next bike was probably it was a Suzuki X7. That was a two-stroke
First 100 mile
250.
an hour 250.
Yes, what a wonderful bike that was.
Yeah.
Progressed up to a CX 500, uh, maybe a Z 900 after that. We in Ireland at the time, there were a lot of American imports, 70s Japanese bikes, big
Yeah.
bikes. Not expensive, so ended up on a Z900, I think, at the time. And after into a Varadero 1000 after that. I kind of change every couple of years. I can't hang on to a bike. I just kind of change. There's so many bikes out there to try.
I did.
That's it. I went up through the ranks as well, and I was buying and selling bikes for a while, doing them up and selling them.
Right.
With KH125 Kawasaki, and then the GT125 Suzuki, and I had an RD 200 Yamaha, and all the way up GS 250 Katana, and I had a Varadero as well. I had a GS 1150, GS 1200, Triumph Explorer 1200. At the moment at home, I have 2016 Honda Africa Twin, the CRF 1000. Fabulous bike. Every time I think about selling it to buy something different, I just take a ride on it and I just fall in love with it all over again. It's just amazing bike.
I'm like that with my Triumph Thunderbird 900. I've had three, and whenever I get one, I say I'm never ever. This is my forever bike. I'm never going to sell it, and then I end up selling it.
He's gone backwards. He's gone now buying all old bikes.
Have you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of came to a pinnacle when we both have had some of the latest models. We both have had GS 1200s. We got up to that level.
Yeah.
But quite quickly, where do you go from there? So, we started to look at maybe some of the older, more reliable and less technology. We mentioned that earlier on.
Yeah.
And that seems to have stuck. So I have a 77 Goldwing at home, the very first Goldwing.
Is it bronze?
It's no, actually, it's that lovely Honda blue from the 70s.
Oh yeah, like a
yeah, second owner. Yeah, I got that one in Germany. Yeah, I only picked it up last year. That's so I kind of got back to old school stuff.
It's funny. I don't know whether it's all of us, but certainly me. As you get a bit older, and I know we're all the same age, aren't we? You know,
We are the same age, yeah.
all 41. I'm a bit older than you, a little bit older, by a few months, I know.
Yeah.
You tend to look at bikes you might not have looked at when you were younger. It's funny. I do. You know, I think I've never looked at, for example, I'm looking now, I'm not saying I'm going to buy one, but I'm looking at that old the new BSA Gold Star gets a lot of slagging off, but I like the thought of it, like, because I've got my Triumph Thunderbird, which is also a Hinckley, it's a retro, but it's not the original, but it's 23 years old, so it feels almost, it's like classic again you know. And then I like that BSA, and I also start looking at like Royal Enfields. Well, I used to look at them and think they're not even real Royal Enfields, they're Indian Enfield. I don't know why you have this as a young person, but now I think actually they're doing all right, aren't they? I don't know why you look backwards. Maybe it's that like rose tinted glasses. I think when you get older, you start yearning for how it was. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's what we're doing. So you've both started like me and like many of our listeners, very, very young, and then
Yeah.
I mean, I once tried to write down every bike I'd got. And I also did it with cars, to be fair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do it. I lost myself completely. I was like, I can't remember. And then
Yeah.
someone showed me a picture. Do you remember when we went to so and so on that? And I was like, I don't even remember having that. And yet there's a photo of me on it. And it weren't until I saw it that I thought, oh yeah, I remember. I'm like, my God. So yeah, it's a bit like that. So have you when you were really young? I know we've all probably had our especially riding so many miles like you do. I'm guessing you've had some accidents, maybe some slides off or dropping it or whatever. Can you think when you were younger anything that like I remember really an accident I broke both my wrists. And is
To be
anything
honest with you, I've never had anything serious. Like I've had to slide off on a corner.
yeah.
I had a bike, the engine seized and back wheel snaked off all the way down the road, and I've had stuff like that. But at one stage, I worked when I was really younger. Now I did a little bit of courier work around Dublin City.
Ah,
And the odd car door would open on you, and you kind of throw yourself on the car door, or you stick your boot into it, one or the other. But I've never had anything serious. We were on a trip to a couple of years back. We did a trip down to Dubrovnik, and on the way back, we were going on the country roads. We'd had a bit of time, and my front, we came around the corner, and it was all kind of cow shit and everything on the road that farmers had dragged out.
yeah.
And I had road tires on, and the front wheel hit. It was like a pothole covered in all this, hit the edge of it. Anyway, I came off the bike,
Right.
and I actually broke 2 ribs.
Right.
But that's the most I've ever had.
Wow, we're very lucky.
I haven't had anything serious either. But about 10 days ago in Turkey on this trip, I was going for.
I wasn't going to mention that.
We were going for one of these shortcuts. Every now and again you say, "Oh, look at the GPS. It's a little shortcut coming.
No,
Let's go this way."
His shortcuts are usually long cuts.
So we ended up in the snow
Oh.
almost at the top of a mountain, and the back went on my bike went, and I went flat on my ass kind of thing. He had to drop his bike and go back for me. It was that slippy.
At that stage, then we decided to turn around and go back down, and then while turning around, my bike started to go, so we had to step off it. Look, there was nothing But I mean, yeah, his shortcuts. We ended up in a field of corn.
Yeah.
On a shortcut, and it was completely fenced in, and we're riding all the way around this field, and we couldn't find a way out. But anyway, yeah.
I'm not going to laugh too loud because you're on an adventure, aren't you? And you're in a strange country, not got the same infrastructure as us, so you can almost forgive you for that. But you can't forgive me for going on a shortcut in a car to Manchester Airport. You following yes, and ending up in a field.
The problem here is in Armenia and Georgia, and we're assuming further on, we're both using the Garmin XT,
right?
And it just doesn't work. You know, it doesn't show any roads whatsoever. So we had to resort to Google Maps on our phones,
Yeah.
and Google Maps is probably about 20 years out of date here. It's just not working.
Right. Yeah.
So it's been difficult kind of navigating our way around this neck of the woods. So we're going to have a look at that now on the winter months and see if we can improve that for when we come back the next time. You know?
Have
Let
you?
me, let,
Sorry.
let me give you, for instance, on that. Sorry, yeah, I'm going to give you a little, for instance, on that.
Oh, you're not going.
Yeah, so we're about 4 or 5 days in Armenia now, but we were on our way from Georgia. Now, just that said, you cannot ride from Turkey directly into Armenia. You have to go via Georgia.
Yeah,
It's
Just
closed.
the way the borders. Yeah, yeah. So we had to go that direction. We we were spending a while. So because we're using the GPS on the phone, and because I let Neil lead the way that day, that being such experienced rider and GPS follower that he is, he brought us to the border, straight to the border on the main road.
And it was real easy, I have to say. Got there in no time.
And they refused us at the border.
They did.
I think I might have seen one of your YouTube videos saying refused at the border.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
The reason why we refused the border
It was
is
the wrong border.
He took us to the wrong border. It was Azerbaijan border he took us to.
No way.
And the policeman goes, "What country?" I said, "Armenia." He goes, "No, this Azerbaijan. You go that way." I'm going, okay.
How far out were you? How far away were the different?
About 30 minutes by road away to 2 borders. We just hit the wrong one.
Almost forgivable then. I thought you were going to be like 1,500 miles.
Oh,
Almost forgivable.
No, we'd still be riding. We wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
So what about on this journey, this second leg that we talk about now? You never know, we might be able to do another one as you carry on with your adventures. What would you say has been the highlight of each of these countries, or if there's been a specific thing of the countries you've traveled through?
Let's see. I suppose from a bike perspective, we've had problems with the 2 bikes. We mentioned a little bit about that before. And Neil's was more serious, so he's been having to watch a bad oil leak all the way through. And we actually have only finally got it sorted out here.
I set a new world record for the longest oil trail. 4,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you got to
You've sorted your sat nav issue out then, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's all sorted now. The guys here, we went to a motorbike shop here in Yerevan, and if anyone is watching and they're getting close to Yerevan, they need some work done. It's called Bike Shop Armenia, and the guys are fantastic. They took the bike in straight away. I fixed it straight away, and it was really cheap, but very professional work.
Brilliant. Isn't it great when that's what I find about sort of Eastern Europe, or, sort of when you go into the Middle East and Central Asia, how you can just have an issue, take it in, and be like, yeah, bring it in. You're like, what now? Yeah. And then obviously they need the work, and thank God that we're there to give them it. And they'll do it straight there and then,
And like I'm looking for tires, because the tires of my bike, they're okay at the moment, but I won't get through the next leg, which is kind of Russia and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan or whatever. I'm not going to get through the next leg with the tires that I have. So I thought, well, I best get them now before we head into Russia. So I asked the guys about the tires. They didn't have the ones I want. So he kind of said, well, look, give us some notice. We'll get them in for next year. And if I can't get them in, you order them, get them shipped here to me, and they'll throw the tires on for me when we come back. So it's fantastic,
That's good. Yeah.
But you asked about things we've come across in different countries. I'm just thinking about Georgia, the second of the 3 countries we went through. We read something about the fact that their animals are allowed to roam on the roads, and we didn't realize to what extent. And we're talking about not small animals. We're talking about cows and pigs and sheep, and they literally roam where they want.
You could be riding down the road, and there's a kind of random cow walking along the center of the road. Or there could be a whole herd of cows on the road, and nobody else, no human with them.
No,
So
you won't beat this one. We hit a 4-lane carriageway coming in to Tbilisi at the time.
Yeah.
And
It was the motorway, wasn't it?
It was the motorway, it was the main motorway. And so there was in the center between both sides of the road.
Central
You
reservation.
can imagine about maybe a meter high bank of concrete, but at the top of the concrete, you've got grass. And there's a cow on the top of that. No idea how it could jump a meter up onto it, but there was a cow in the middle of the motorway.
But
you're
you're driving along the motorway like 110k or maybe 120k, and there's cows on the motorway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just
Crazy.
you know now we found going through Turkey and other kind of countries come down through the Balkans. There's lots of dogs, and
Yeah,
the dogs chase the bikes.
those Anatolian mountain dog thing, big, all the same, aren't they?
Yeah. So we've become very adept at sticking the old boot out there, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
No, right. But we found when we came into Armenia that the dogs are kind of a little bit more laid back. They just kind of lie there and look at you, you know, which is not bad, like.
Yeah.
But all down through the other countries, like you'd nearly pull a muscle kicking at the feckers, you know. But yeah, no, we didn't come across any bears or we were looking for bears, but we couldn't find any.
No.
And in Greece, we did up in the mountains of Greece, we did find one wild creature walking across the road, didn't we?
What was it?
It was a tortoise.
Oh yeah.
I have got now. There's going to be animal lovers.
It was a very wild tortoise now, but it was about this big, like it was huge.
Oh yeah.
And of course, we pulled up on the bikes. Damian decides to kind of lift it up off the road and take it off the road for its own safety, I might add.
Well,
And he's gone, do these bite? And I'm going, oh yeah, they're vicious.
savage. Yeah.
So he picked it up and brought it back to where it came from. I'm going, but when we drive on, he's only going to
We're
go
going that way. It's going to go through it again now.
So we had to pick him up again under the costume. And we got that in video, I think, as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, not to black tortoise you, as in black cat, but I got off my bike once and in Turkey and was walking across some, and I was just going to go for a wee, and I needed to get out of the way a bit. And so, you know, if you got to go, you've got to go, haven't you? So I'm walking across and I could hear this crunching, and I'm thinking it's gravel. And this is awful, really. And I am an animal lover. And when I looked down, it were tiny tortoises, thousands and thousands of them.
Baby tortoises.
Yeah, the baby tortoises. Because that's where I didn't know that, but in the UK and Ireland, you know, in the 70s, you used to be able to buy tortoises in pet shops for £1.
Yeah.
But they all came from Turkey, and they've stopped it. You know, you can't do that anymore. Certainly in the UK, you can't buy them anymore because they banned the import of them because it's cruel. And so, you know, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I never realised the level of how many there is till I heard it.
Oh, God.
And then I looked down, I was like, oh. So I had to literally move them with my foot and tiptoe around to get back to the bike. There were that many. So you were lucky just to see one big. That must have been one I missed.
But so there are lots and lots of wild dogs, lots of just roaming around and kind of, you know. But yeah, going along the road, you've got to be so careful with the animals in the road. So they don't know any better, and they literally walk straight across the front.
Yeah, they've got no respect for motorcyclists, have they?
No, bloody cheek of them.
So before you did your phase 1 ride, which took you into Europe, and now this second leg of it, what brought you two together riding? Have you known each other since you were young men, or just more recently? Or
yeah, more recently we were both in a camping club. Our kids were the same age.
right?
Oh, we got one of each, and they were pretty much the same age. They were hanging around with each other. We got chatting into bikes. Talked about who'd already been where and where, you know, wouldn't mind tagging along with that one. And one of the ones we were going to in the summer times actually was the Nick Sanders camping weekends they used to have there. And apparently he's finished it now. We used to go for a couple of years there.
Yeah, we did a couple of years. And we finished it this year, and this was the 1 year that we didn't actually get to go, and he finished it. So That was
Yeah.
a bummer. Because we did get a chance to interview Nick for our YouTube channel as well.
Gentleman, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. But he's off on his bike everywhere now. He's recycling and canoe.
Look, he's mad. He went around the world on an electric bicycle and kind of
Yeah.
going, what?
Is it the Yamaha electric bicycles or something? I remember watching it.
And he's crazy. What a lovely chap, absolutely.
Yeah. He's on a canal boat now, and he's doing it or something. He's doing something on a canal.
I didn't hear that.
But that's how we kind of started biking together, and then we just started doing a couple of trips, and
Oh, wow.
then we did the call it. We did
the Iberian Peninsula was one of the first trips we did together. We did the whole Portugal, Spain coast, the coast.
Right.
And we were camping for that as well. And it was actually in a pub somewhere down in the Spain, somewhere after a few pints. That's when we came up with the best idea of the Top Gear challenge.
Right. Oh,
so when Top Gear do a challenge and they have support vehicles and camera crews and everything else. So Top Gear challenge that we did was that we were both to buy a bike, and we were to have it ready for the road.
Yeah.
Spending no more than €1,500, and we were to ride it from Dublin to the Sahara Desert and back to Dublin.
Wow.
That was an interesting challenge because first, straight away, we were kind of trying to think, what is the best bike to do it on? So, strangely enough, we didn't choose the best bikes to do it on.
Well, you're going to hear a little about that, won't you?
So, Damian chose a
1992 ST1100, the Pan-European.
And I chose a 98 BMW RT 1100.
Wow. Very comfortable, but I'm not sure about being the best rider bike for that trip.
No, but anyway, the BMW, I had problems. The hall sensor went in it and the ECU went in it. There's loads of different things went on it. And eventually I managed to get it all fixed. Like 4 days before we left, the engine wasn't running and it was in a million pieces. So I managed to fix it all up and get it going. And we headed off on the trip. And we were doing quite well. Like we headed off and we got down to Tangier, and from Tangier then we were headed towards Rabat, and I came out of the hotel one morning and there was a pool of oil on the ground under my bike, and he's going, look at your bike, it's leaking oil. I'm going, oh, that couldn't be leaking oil, there's nothing wrong with that. And then it was only when I saw him laughing I realized that it wasn't leaking oil. You just have to pour on oil on the ground under the bike, right? yeah with friends like that, so Karma, I believe totally in karma. So we got within kind of, I think it was 50 kilometers of Marrakesh, and he broke down.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, literally broke down. The Hondas, some of the old Hondas, the regulator goes on them. And I should have carried a spare. I really should have carried a spare. I know that now. And in the middle of nowhere, it's on one of our videos actually. It's in the middle of nowhere. You look around, it looks like shale everywhere. You could be in the moon. And my bike just died at the junction right beside it.
And then I nearly died laughing.
Yeah, and he videoed the whole thing.
And I videoed the whole thing, and it's all on around the world eventually YouTube.
Some things you just can't miss, can you?
No, you just have to, like, I mean, karma, So so then, like, we had to get his bike into Marrakesh because we were staying in Marrakesh. So how do we do it? Like, so we put a strap on it and we towed it. When we arrived in Marrakesh, the guy who owned the campsite where we were staying, he came out and he goes, "Oh, you're just like a Moroccan," he says. Just towing the bike.
Just like the Moroccans. Already towing it.
Yeah, we couldn't get the parts for the bike in Morocco, although we tried. So what we did was we decided to leave the bike because we actually got Ryanair flights home from Marrakesh to Dublin for 25 quid each, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the obvious option. We couldn't get the parts there. Yeah. Plan B was leave them there in the campsite. Most people said they're not going to be there when you go back.
Now, in fairness, like, they weren't in a lockup or anything. They were just parked in the campsite. They weren't even locked. We decided not to lock them, just to leave them.
Yeah.
And we went home, and of course everybody was going, "Where's your bikes?" We told them. They're going, "They're not going to be there when you get back." And we're going, well, look, if they're not, we'll figure something out. And sure enough, 4 months later, we arrived back, and the bikes were there. They were covered in Sahara dust, but they were there. And guess what? The BMW started first pushing the button.
It did.
It did. Fantastic. Couldn't believe it.
That's amazing. No water under it or anything.
No,
No, or oil or nothing like that.
no. So we fixed the Honda, and then we finished off our journey. We got down to Sahara, and we rode on the Sahara as much as we could with two heavy bikes, and finished the journey. Came up the far side of Morocco, and then back into Spain, and back to Dublin. And, yeah, and then we sold the bikes, and I think I got €1,100 for mine, and you got 1,500 for yours.
Yeah, got me money back.
Yeah.
So,
You know what?
like,
That's the great thing about older bikes, isn't it? You know, I'm always telling my wife when she says, "You're not buying another bike, are you?" And I'm like, think of it like this. It's not really money gone. It's just the worst we're going to do, if we had any savings, would be that you'd lose a bit of interest, and it's like 2%. So what might lose £3? Because when I sell it, I'm going to get back what I got for it. It's just like borrowing it, really.
but the bit we left out was we did some of the TET in Spain on those bikes,
Right.
and they're not exactly TET style bikes.
No, well, that's true.
Considering each one of them weighs about a quarter of a ton, like, right? And the funny part was when we got home then and we sold the bikes, and then it was only a couple of months later then.
I saw that bike and I knew it was that bike up for sale again privately, and it was carefully minded.
And we have videos of this thing going along the TET off road, like, you know, fantastic.
2 careful owners and 1 lunatic.
One lunatic, yeah. Oh, stuff.
Wow. You know what? Just listening to you, I can't help but be envious, honestly. And I'm sure lots of people listening will be like, wow, you know what? Just having I don't know, the courage, the confidence, the time, the madness to go and do stuff like that is just amazing, honestly.
But to be honest with you, I don't think I would do this on my own, because
No.
I like having the fun and the banter and the, you know, bouncing off somebody else, and I don't think it'd be something that I could do it on my own, but I don't think I'd enjoy it, you know. So I think as the pair of us, we get on so well like that, it just makes it, you know.
You can see that, and you're right. I'm pretty much the same for short journeys. If I'm just riding around, you know, around the British Isles, for example, I'm all right on my own. I'm fine. I like my own company sometimes, but to do an adventure, I do like to be with someone like you, as you can tell. I like a bit of a crack, and I like a bit of banter, and that's how I am. And I bounce off other people, and you know, it gets me in trouble sometimes, but that's all right, you know. And so I can.
You'll notice from our videos on YouTube that we don't edit anything. Everything is raw as it happens, and sometimes the language is a little bit choice, like, but
Yeah. Well,
as we like to say, like, shit happens, you know.
we're all adults, aren't we? We're all adults. So what's happening now? You say you're on day 4 or 5 in Armenia now, something like that.
Yeah, we're in Yerevan. We got another 3 days or so left. The weather's been wonderful here. It's generally around 12 degrees and sunny.
Right.
You know, so it gives us 4 or 5 hours during the day. We've kind of decided to make Yerevan the base this time and kind of work out of there, rather than what we normally do is you move on day by day and get different accommodation. It's just because the evenings are kind of got so cold now, it makes sense to use a base and work outwards, you know.
And we met some Armenian people yesterday, and they brought us out and they treated us to a typical Armenian meal, and of course that came then with the vodka and the brandy. And
so were you having some potato wine yesterday or something?
No, what you mean? No.
Yeah, no, definitely.
No,
Try to avoid it just in case customs and excise are listening.
This stuff they were producing was, I think he was legally doing it, because he was actually selling it in proper bottles. He has a proper thing. Anyway, mind you, if you saw the door we went in to get to it, but it was absolutely amazing. Like, we do have videos. Is it on YouTube or is it on?
Yeah, it's on our Facebook. Yeah, the latest one we did.
So we have a video of the mint vodka dripping out of the still, and your man puts a glass underneath it and says, "Here, taste this." And of course, but when you're sitting with Armenian people, we thought Georgian people did a lot of toasts over their meals, but Armenian people toast literally every 2 minutes. And it's another toast, hey, another drink, and you're going, oh dear God, you know. So today, so after yesterday, today was a day off the bikes, so we kind of went walking today, you know, and but we're back on the bike again tomorrow.
Yeah,
fabulous.
Yeah, we're going exploring again on the bikes tomorrow.
Tell us a bit about, assuming you know a bit about this city that you're in. Is it a big? Is it the capital? You say? Is it a big place? Is it? You know,
it's the capital. There's about 1.5 million people living here. It's very cosmopolitan. The traffic is mental, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
serious problem.
And they don't take prisoners here. You know, you've got to ride like a local. If you don't, you get, you know, you're in trouble.
You know what we call the local blocker system when we're coming to roundabouts and no one knows it's a free for all and you're looking around, whatever. Let the locals go a little bit either side, and then you can just slot in the middle.
Use them as a shield.
Yeah, it works though. It works.
And the gas thing about it is we have the intercom as we're going along, and what you call it, we have to be laughing our heads off at stuff we've been seeing as we're going along, you know. And we've been trying to video a bit as well, but sometimes everything's happening so much you can't take your hand off the handlebar to click on the camera, you know.
Yeah.
So but it's an amazing city, like it really is. They are in Asia, it's firmly in Asia, but they consider themselves to be on the crossroads between Asia and Europe.
Yes.
The Georgians do.
Yeah.
And like if you say to them, "Are you Asians?" They go, "No. We're kind of Eastern Europeans." That's the way. That's the way they feel, you know. But they are so friendly to people in Armenia. They are really so friendly.
Yeah.
You know, even in a big city where you generally won't get people being friendly, they are very friendly around. They'll always come out and talk to you. And when they see how far we've come on the bikes, they're congratulating us and all that kind of stuff. You know?
It's nice, isn't it? I know that there's two countries that are on the edge of sort of the Muslim world. They do tend to associate themselves with Europe and be in Christianity. You know, you see that.
Yeah. I mean, we went to one of the museum today, and we've got a good bit of history on the place. And they've been tormented, I suppose, by Islamic countries over the last several centuries. You know. So,
yeah. You can see why they're so focused on feeling a certain way, can't you? You know.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
So at the moment, I suppose what you're doing is adventure riding, for want of a better word. You know, I don't know how much of that is on road and off road. Sounds like if you're following Damian's routes, it's off road.
Pretty much.
And if you're following yours, it's on road with animals.
You're wrong country. You're the wrong country. Yeah.
Yeah, wrong country. That's a classic, that, isn't it? Did it not have a welcome to Azerbaijan or whatever?
Yeah.
Kazakhstan or whatever.
Like, can we move on now?
Yeah. Sorry, it's getting. Don't want to get into the point of bullying you. What if you were to say your preferred? It's a daft question, really, because I guess this is your preferred way of riding. These, you know, older bikes, workable, maintainable, and done in a way where you're riding on unfamiliar countries and unfamiliar roads, you know, so different to back home. Would that be your choice? In the past, have you done sort of road riding, or have you in the past thought, well, I've done, I don't know, track days, or have you done things like trial riding or motocross or?
I think both of us had our own fair share of road bikes in the past. Like, I mean, I said that are 1100 and a few different definite road bikes. But it's when I discovered when I bought my first I suppose,
Dual
sport bike was the Varadero 1000, and I never look back. It's just for me, it's a more comfortable way to ride, but it's a lot more forgiving. Like if you are on a rough surface and you go around a corner and there's gravel, or there's around the corner there's a pothole or whatever, you can kind of hold it. Whereas if you're on a street bike and you hit something like that, you're gone and you're off it.
Yeah.
And these dual sport bikes, they are just incredible because you can go anywhere and do anything. There's no limitations.
Yeah.
The only limitation is yourself.
Well, we chose mid-range. We chose mid-range rather than go up. We've had the GSs. I said that before.
Yeah.
We've had big bikes before. We chose mid-range bikes. He's got the 650. I've got the 600. You drop the bikes, you can pick it back up again. The one place you might have drawback, if anything, I suppose, is that you can't get big speeds on big roads. We don't do that anyway. We don't do big roads. You don't see anything on big roads. So these bikes are capable of, 100k, 60 mile an hour if you want it. It gets you from A to B, and then when you want, you go off road, or know where it be. So we think they're the best of both worlds. We've only we choose the different ones. We didn't know what we were going to choose. It was like the Moroccan. We end up choosing a Honda and a BMW.
It's usually a case of like, okay, we need a couple of bikes, and whoever gets the first one, the other one can't pick the same bike. And he keeps going for the second Hondas, and I end up getting stuck with all the other ones, Like I'm on a Suzuki now, and don't get me wrong, the DR650 is a fabulous, fabulous bike.
Yeah.
But the saddle on it's like sitting on a concrete block. I used to walk properly when I lived at home before I rode this journey, walking like John Wayne, as a fellow once said, he says, I've an arse on me now like a clown's mouth, he says. But you see, I keep getting stuck with all the odd ones. So before we do this again, I'm not even going to suggest what it is. I'm just going to go out and buy a bike and then suggest it, and maybe I'll get the Honda next time.
Yeah, then it'd be like, oh, damn you.
Well, I've never done track days, and I've never done motocross or anything like that. Back in the day when I was young enough to do it, motocross and track days and all that, I couldn't afford it because family and kids and mortgage and all that kind of stuff. So
it's more the adventure thing for us. It's more getting onto new roads, new places, meeting new people, and we've chosen the bikes we feel that are going to do best for us. Mostly road riding, some a little bit off. Sometimes it's great fun with the GPS when if they're working in that country, you can set XT. I know we can set a kind of a more adventurous route.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, we've heard, yeah.
And sometimes that can be the best fun as long as you don't hurt yourself.
Like I'm going on the bike, and he's going, we're just following this road, and I'm going, what stretch of the imagination can you call this a road?
Oh, amazing. I mean, a lot of people, when they come on, not just this podcast, because as you know, we're relatively new, but other people, I listen to them, and they talk about like when they were rescued by, I don't know, ABS or this, that, and the other. Of course, your bikes are older bikes that are, I don't know if you've got ABS, but I doubt it. Yeah. I have been, in fact, my last guest was Bob Brayley, and he's been riding all his life, and he's similar age to us. And he was talking about how he won't have a bike without ABS anymore because he's had some bad experiences where it's rescued him. He's felt it kick in, he's seen it come on, and thought, but he's riding in a different way, I guess, than you are, in a different environment, because there's a lot to be said for, when you're in certain circumstances, turning things like traction control and that off new bikes. Like you, I had the 1200 GS and it had all the bells and whistles, but sometimes you don't need that, when you're doing it. So I just wondered if that was something you'd miss, not having that modern stuff on these.
No, I mean, you adapt your riding style to the bike that you're riding. And look, every time you throw your leg over a bike, you're putting your life at risk, right? But it's what we do, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be without it. But you will get your fair share of near misses.
Yeah.
And it's how near are the near misses? That's the thing.
Yeah,
Both of us have massive experience behind us. We're riding all our lives. So the near misses are less and less and less because we have that experience that we read the road a whole lot further down than a lot of other people.
yeah.
And we tend to see stuff early and react early,
Yeah.
So
No, I get you. I've sometimes people when I ride with other people say, "Oh, you're so hesitant," and I'm like, "Well, you know what? Ultimately, I'm 61 and I'm still here, and I've been
yeah,
riding for 46
yeah, yeah,
years." Um, so for a T junction, for example, I ride in traffic and I see all the people on the phones constantly, especially down in the southeast of England. I don't know why. In and around London, everyone's on the phone. I look down and I'm like, unbelievable. Tap on the window and they're like, they'll either kick off and try and ride me off the road or they'll, give me the finger or whatever. But they're going to kill someone. So I'm very aware that at a junction, for example, someone's on the phone or arguing with the mate or just not with it because they're in that enclosed safety zone of a car with the radio full blast. Get to a T junction. I'm on that road. I know people that will say to me, it's a 60, so I go past it at 60. And I'm like, well, that's all right. That's your life. But you hit the side of a car at 60, you and him are both dead. So,
that's it.
I ain't doing that. So I do slow down to maybe 40, 35. I'm looking for, am I going to go behind him if he pulls out or in front of him? If at what level he is on the road, what am I going to do? And I think about it. Also, I'm trying to catch his eye. Sometimes you catch your eye. They think you're saying, yeah, you can pull out. So it's difficult. But, I'm always aware. So I get that experience. Reading the road comes so much with just, I've done it for a long time.
Yes, it is. That's what it is. You're right.
I want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Oh, oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm just thinking, as we're talking, you sat there, but you've had such in the last 2 or 3 years, it sounds like you've had some amazing adventures. Just memories you're going to have of all this is
Yeah,
insane, crazy.
we're having a ball. I mean, people at home have said to me, kind of, you're living the dream. And you know what? Yeah, I think I'm right. Or they are right. I think we are living the dream,
Yeah.
and long may it last.
God, yeah. So what about people at home? What about like kids and partners or, families? What do they think of all this?
Well, my son thinks I'm mad, and my daughter thinks I'm embarrassing her.
Don't all daughters do that?
you know, yeah. I don't have a wife. I have a girlfriend, and she thinks I'm a bit crazy as well. But
I have a very forgiving wife, and yeah, mine too. Yeah, you get on with your own thing. That's what you want to do. Good luck with it. We keep in touch, of course we do. But yeah, very forgiving wife at home. That's my secret anyway.
Amazing. I guess it's a bit of a different world now with things like Messenger and stuff. You can keep in touch, can't you? At least, it's not like writing a letter and snail mailing it back every 3 months. It's a different world.
look, once you have a decent smartphone, the world is a small place.
It is.
And
Yeah.
when we go into the different countries, we get SIM cards. So we have a SIM card for Armenia at the moment. When we were in Georgia, we had a Georgia SIM card. When we were in Turkey, we had a Turkish SIM card, and that's how you go. Like,
Yeah. Well, something I don't know if it's relevant to you because I don't know what phone you've got, but I've always been an Android person for a long
yeah,
time. But my three kids, all three of them now, I think, have got iPhones, and they convinced me this time when I'd had my phone about 3 years, and they were, Dad, bloody, what are you doing with an Android? Get an iPhone. And I said, I've had one years ago. It's crap. I can't connect it to my computer. I can't. If I do, I've got to have iTunes or. Oh no, no, no. Anyway, because I'm a bit simple, they managed to convince me. So I got an iPhone, I think, back in April, which is what I'm using, and I have got used to it. But it's been a proper learning curve. It's been like learning to read and write again for me. It's been rubbish, but I have managed to. But what it does, it allows me to use an eSIM. And I thought I'd just mention that to people whose phones take eSIMs. Because we've got a house in Turkey, and so we've had it for 20 years, and so I go there 5 or 6 times a year, and I've always, without having without having residency, you can't buy a local SIM. You've got to get a tourist SIM, and you've got to scan your passport and everything. Good stuff, really. I guess counter-terrorism stuff. In the UK, you just go and buy a SIM card from Asda for a fiver, but there you've got to do all this stuff, and it runs out after 3 months, and so it's been a bit of a bind for me having data. But recently, I think it was in November, I was Googling the best SIM card to get. And it's usually in Turkey. Vodafone's their big player, Vodafone or Turk Telecom or something like that. But I managed, somebody said, oh, you can get this eSIM. And it's 15 quid for 20 gig. And it's just like really, really fast. And, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to install it. You just get an email and scan it. So I've done that recently.
We kind of looked into that. Damian was looking into it. Turns out then my phone won't take an eSIM.
Yeah, right.
That's we looked at that all right, because that would be the answer, and for a lot of people that is going to be the answer to now on. Phones are progressing. We're both on Android, and neither of them did the eSIM system, so we knew we were going to have to do the old physical thing. It would be to have the eSIM. It sounds great.
Well, we just have to upgrade phones. No.
Eventually. But it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be an iPhone. I know a lot of the newer Android phones, the
newer Androids do it, yeah.
We're all doing it. It's just for other people that are listening as well. I found it so much easier. So my wife and son have just been to the States. I know it's expensive out there to get a SIM, so I just said, well, let me just have a look, and I paid I think it was $10.99 for my wife, $10.99 for 20 gig lasts a month, and it was like immediately. And for him, $24.99 unlimited data lasts a month, unlimited, super fast, And the great thing about them, they don't just use, say, AT&T or O2 or what they click onto whichever's the fastest where you are.
That's great.
That's great. So that's when I went to Turkey, I came back about 3 weeks ago. And when I was there, I got this SIM, 50 gig, $24.99 for a month. And I just did it here. And as soon as you get off the plane, when it connects, you get a text saying it started and it's working now. That's it. And the great thing is you can still access your texts from your home country as well. You don't get a number, but of course you can use WhatsApp and what have you. And it was that good. I used it for my telly to watch smart TV from my phone. Just use it as a hotspot, and it was unlimited. So great if people. Not that everybody wants to do that, but it'd be good.
Just that you mentioned the SIMs, because each of the 3 countries we came through, 2 things we had to do. We knew that you get a SIM. We knew we had to go and get and the other thing was insurance. So coming into Turkey, we had to do the physical thing. We had to go in and buy insurance at the border. As a matter of interest, I think we got 2 weeks worth. It's about €50 now.
Right.
But looking ahead into the other 2 countries, into Georgia and into Armenia, you can actually do it ahead of time online.
That's good. Right.
Very handy. And it's really, I think it was about less than €7 for 2 weeks in each country.
That's amazing.
So it can be done online ahead.
Now, when you come through the border, they do ask you, do you have insurance? And we just said, yeah, we have it. That we have it still on our phones.
Yeah.
And they didn't ask us to produce it or anything. They just wanted to make sure we had it.
Right. Just for your own benefit.
It's third party. It covers you enough. Our bikes are not worth that much anyway. So, third party is minimum. It's fine.
Okay, my own bike insurance is Car National. It only covers you in Europe. It doesn't cover you outside of Europe. So
yeah, mine's the same. Mine does 30 days, I think, in the EU.
Yeah.
UK or EU. So yeah. What have you talking about these borders? Either maybe not necessarily on this journey, but obviously it could be. Have you had any issues on any of the borders, or any of them more difficult than others, apart from going to the wrong one?
Well, the last leg. Yeah. Oh, we're back at that again. Okay.
Hey.
And we're back there.
But the last leg last year, like we were mainly coming down through Europe, so it's okay. It was only when we got to North Macedonia that we actually had to buy insurance there. And there was a guy, they wouldn't give it, they held on to our passports and they said, no, you pay for insurance. And we're going, okay, where do we get the insurance? And they pointed to this guy standing behind the booth. And we went to him and he called us over and he sat into his car and sat there with a laptop and went, tap, 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 tap. That's 50 euros each. And we were going, shit.
Yeah.
And then we went back and showed the insurance. Then they gave us our passports. And the two of us went away from there thinking, yeah, we've just been ridden, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just been on bloody.
Yeah.
But
It's his mate. We know it's his mate.
yeah. But when we went down through all the rest of the countries, then that was fantastic. The borders this time, the only border that was a little difficult was actually coming into Armenia, because you get through your customs and you get through passport control and all that, and then you have to pay the import duty on the bike. So they send you to an office. So you go to this office and there's two kind of cash desks and people all queue up the cash desk. So we queued up the cash desk. And then after maybe half an hour of queuing, then they say, you have to pay first. And they point to another thing that you had to go over and pay. So we had to go over to this other thing and pay there and then come back and queue again for the cash desk. But, you know, and the woman behind, when she saw we were on bikes, she wasn't too impressed. So we went to the younger woman then because she spoke more English, like, you know. But yeah, it was, you know.
So realistically, you're actually importing the bike. So it's all done on paper. They gave us a paper to say, okay, your bike is now in this country in Armenia and can stay here for up to 12 months. And that's important. When you're looking ahead to see, look, how am I fixed? Because we know other countries are not. We couldn't have left them in Georgia for 12 months. We couldn't have left them in Turkey for 12 months. We know that.
Yeah.
So those are important things for the type of journey we're at. So we need to be planning ahead for that.
I suppose the other border that we had problem with was years ago when we did Morocco.
Morocco and South Europe again, yeah.
And we nearly got arrested.
Really? Did they not have the same sense of humor?
Well, what happened was,
Go ahead.
well, it started off very, very gentle, very easy, but it progressed on a little bit. We mentioned about our birthdays earlier on. We go away this time of year, October into November. Our birthdays are shortly before that. We tend to be away for our birthday, so it's kind of a celebration thing. So for our 60, was it our 60? No, was it? No, it was before that, but a couple of years. So we had named this trip Dublin to the Sahara.
This was the Top Gear Challenge trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So my daughter, unbeknownst to me, went off and had 2 T-shirts made up with Dublin to the Sahara on it. Small little logo on the front, big one on the back. And what she had done is she went to Google and she got the map of Morocco from there.
Right.
And Dublin to the Sahara. And so she presented me with these. So I kept it to myself because his birthday was actually on the trip. So we had decided, instead of riding all the way down through Spain, getting a short ferry into Morocco, we had decided to go into Barcelona, get a ferry directly all the way down the side of Spain. And it was great. It was like a cruise, like a Mediterranean cruise.
There we were naively thinking we'd be able to drink and have a bit of fun on the ship, you know.
Yeah.
There's a Muslim ship.
Yeah. So on his birthday was the day we were on that ship. And there's 2 things you got to do coming into Morocco. Again, you got to go to the customs because you're importing that bike, and you got to go to the police for your passport. So we happened to be wearing these 2 T-shirts on that day, and the policeman looked at the logo. And he said, "Can I take a picture of that?" And I said, "Yes." Now this was done in Pidgin French, by the way. We only have Pidgin French, and he had no English either. So this was done in Pidgin French on a very busy ferry. So he took a picture and didn't say anything at the time. And then we noticed there was a lot of bikes heading to Morocco. This was an Italian ferry which had come across and docked in Barcelona, picked up a load of more bikes. And so it was well over 100 bikes on this ferry. And it was busy, it was sunny. We were looking down and we saw a group of Italian bikers. We noticed that they were taking off their T-shirts and putting them into a bag. and putting on other t-shirts.
Your
What's
spider
that?
senses started tingling. You're thinking,
We
Okay.
thought these Italians are weird, you know.
And then
either
before
they
we
are or
knew
you are.
yeah, well, yeah. Before we knew it, the policeman had traced us and came to us, and he had said the same thing: take those off, put them in a bag, and they're going to be taken off you when you get off this ship.
Like there was no other like explanation. Like that was it.
Yeah.
So we went, oh, okay. Like no, I think he pointed at the picture and said not allowed. Okay. So okay. So we took them off and
So were you stood there like this then? I mean, what were you like? Ooh.
We had gear.
Oh, you had replacements.
We put
Thank
other
God.
t-shirts on.
There and then he actually said, "Right, do it. You know, getting off." So anyway, that was done. We knew that they were going to come looking for us. He said that. Oh, police come for you, and oh, okay. So when the ship was docking, I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of trucks and stuff, a big ship, and the bikes were all starting to come off. We knew it, and the Italians knew it, but the other 95 bikers didn't know that they are all going to get corralled into the corner because of us. They wanted to find out who are these people with these t-shirts. So it went on for quite a while, but every policeman, uniform, detective, whatever, was going around with his phone and a picture of my my logo.
Where are the Irish?
Who's this? Who's this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was it was touch and go. So
That were a bit spooky, wasn't it? A bit of a.
It was. You're outside Europe. You don't have the backup
No.
anymore. We realized that.
We gave them the bag with the t-shirts on it, and then they directed us up to the customs again. So we rode the bikes up through customs. They pulled us to one side. They went through our bags, stripped everything out of the bags, had a look, and
And how do you eat? What did you do with it? Did you eat it?
no, well, we gave them the t-shirts, like you know. So
Bro,
we
I'm not sure at all.
So we were parked up, and then the Italians came up through the same thing, right? And we were looking at the Italians over the far side, and they literally stripped all their bags out and went through their bags. And guess what? They found another 10 t-shirts that the Italians hadn't declared. We never saw those guys ever again. we don't know what happened to them.
You've had a nice bolognese that night.
I'd say those lads were picking up the soap for a while. But we were there. They came to us, the plainclothes detectives over asking us where we got the t-shirts. Did we buy them? Who paid for them? Where were they bought? Or who made them? And this went on for a long time before we were able to convince them like this was all we had and it was very innocent done. And it was all down to the fact that a little piece on the bottom of the map was missing.
No way.
And that's the piece that's
Western Sahara. It's the Western Sahara.
yeah, and it's the piece that they're actually
Algeria is claiming access. They're claiming access.
Yeah, they're in conflict with
They
Algeria.
had a war, didn't they, over that in the 60s or whatever?
Right. So here we are going in there showing only half of Morocco. You can see what
I was
they
going to say, what was the issue? That's crazy. Yeah.
So guys, don't pull a thing straight off Google. Check before you actually.
Better still, don't put a map on your t-shirt.
Well, a friend of mine has said he's in situations like that, not necessarily at borders, but wherever, when it's getting a bit iffy, you get pulled by the police or, gang members or whatever, and it's getting a bit. He says there's three things. One, act really tough. If that backfires, act really stupid. If that backfires, cry. And if none of that works, pretend to faint.
That's very wise.
So keep them in your bag, them things there. Like, yeah, what are you going to do? And then when they start, I'm going to kill you. Like, sorry, he's all right. He's a bit.
Yeah. But the other thing we found at the borders then was that we call them fixers.
Yeah.
When you go through the border, there's always fixers hanging around the far side of the border, and they want to get you over because they're going to get money off you for showing you where to go, or you need a SIM card, or I'll get this for you, or whatever. And they tend to literally jump out in front of you and try and block your way. Particularly going into Morocco, they would literally fill the road and try and block your way, and you're having to ride through them and kind of nearly kick them out of the way, like to get through, So for anyone heading to Morocco, come straight out the border when you get passport control and everything else. Do not stop for these guys. Keep going because they're only trying to get money off you. And we had the same even coming into Armenia, didn't we? So the fixer, stay well away from them. Go further on down the road to the next town. You'll get everything you need there.
It's funny, there's two things that I notice about countries similar to this. Not all, not necessarily those, but one is the fixers, people that want to take a percentage. And it can, if you're really stuck and you think, well, I'm going to pay an extra tenner and they'll be happy, I get what I want. Might be, it might be a photocopied document, but if it works, it works. Or like you, that you just went on, I don't know, anyinsurance.com and bought you a £4 insurance and charged you 50 for it. But, whatever, sometimes if it's the only option, but you usually, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. There's that. But the other part of it is I don't know why there's anyone unemployed, because when you go to some of these countries, there's so many people doing every other job. You were talking earlier about go to this place and there's a security guard. From the security guard, he takes you in and there's like a concierge. They send you to this desk and they want this paper. Now go to that desk for that paper. Now go over there and print that off and pay for it.
Yeah.
And then take it there and they'll photocopy it for you. You pay for that. And then you take it to the desk to pay for it. Then you go somewhere else and they'll wrap it in an envelope and put it. And it's like, whoa, no wonder there's nobody, everyone's got a job because so much.
But there was one time a fixer did kind of work out for us. Remember, it was in Morocco the first time. And we came into the city of Fez. And we were riding around trying to figure out where we're going to go. And this guy in the scooter came up. Remember the guy in the scooter? And he comes over and he goes, "Hey, Irish, what you look for a hotel? I get you a hotel." And I'm going, "Oh, yeah. And he says, "Follow me." And he goes out in the scooter. We went the other way, right? So he went that way and we went this way. And then he came around and he found us again.
Yeah.
And he's going, "Irish, you go the wrong way. You follow me." We go, "Yeah, okay." And he went that way and we went off the other way again. And this happened 3 or 4 times. And in the end, we decided, we listened to him. So we listened to him, and he brought us to this amazing place, didn't he? Yeah. And it was literally a hotel or a guest house right in the center of the Medina.
Oh wow!
And it was real Moroccan and like Berber house, like it was. It was fabulous. So yeah, it can work out, but generally we stay away from it.
Yeah, I agree. I do, but it's just sometimes if you're completely lost, they know every little trick in the book, don't they? As long as you're willing to give them their...
getting too cold, it's getting too dark, it's getting too late, you're hungry. Sometimes, go with it. Just go.
Pay the money and know you've been ripped off. So what? Wow. Isn't it amazing? You're just talking about this as if it's like daily life. And there's going to be a lot of people watching this it's not their daily life at all. They've never could even dream of... Well, they can. We all dream of it. But as I mentioned to you guys when we had a chat the other day, some people's adventure is very different. It might just be, going to work every day to the local factory or, steelworks or farm or, whatever on the C90. And I remember the time when we went and there were 2-foot snowdrifts and, a mile and a half to do. That's their experience of it. So many different ones, but yours is just amazing, really. And the fact that
that's why we started documenting everything on YouTube, because we figured like that people maybe might like to live vicariously through our adventures, or so that's why
I ended up last night watching quite a few of yours, looking, and I thought, because I was thinking, I hope they're all right today after that that whatever they were having, gin, vodka style beverage.
It was wild.
Thought they'd be like that. Oh, all right, yeah. You don't have any? I guess you didn't have too much.
No, it was more of a lunchtime thing than a whole day thing. Luckily enough, because some of these people are quite insistent when you sit down with them. They are, you need to kind of,
And like every time you take a sip out of the glass, they top it up, and they could top it up like 10 times, and you're there with this 80% proof mint vodka, and wow, but it was beautiful. Now it was really nice. Now it'd be nice if you could just sit there and sip it, but no, toast.
They toast everything. Yeah.
I saw you, Neil. You were like that. You were trying to pass it. You were like, "Oh yeah, get you."
Yeah, but he kind of uses me as a guinea pig. Neil's going to taste this now, you know. And I'm there kind of going, hang on a sec now. He handed it to you first, you know.
Yeah. It was like I could see. I thought, oh, hey, up, look at that.
But they did, in fairness to the guys, they did say no bike today, and we're going, yeah, no bike today.
Or tomorrow, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've learned my lesson once. I was in Turkey, and this guy said he stopped at the side of the road in a truck driver, and he stopped and they're cooking a little Primus stove, and he said, "Raki drinking?" And I said, "Raki drinking?" I said, "Oh no," I said, "I'm riding, so you know I can't." He said, "No riding, Raki drinking with me." I thought, yeah, yeah, you know, I'm very easily drawn into stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, go on then. So we literally did a litre bottle of raki, and I was like,
Oh,
and we were laughing, we're best mates. It was fantastic, you know. We were, and you know what I found about many drunken escapades, not that I'm an alcoholic, because I'm definitely not, but you know, uh, is how similar we all are all over the world. He was talking about his upbringing and my upbringing and how, you know, lighting the fire with a newspaper and coal fire and drawing it in and doing the toast with a toasting fork. And he's telling me this as if because I'm from Western Europe, I'll never have, I'll be like, wow, never. Not realizing that actually we're all the same. And I remember doing exactly the same. And I
Yeah,
remember
we got
getting the coal in, you know, coal being dumped out by the coalman, and my dad and my mum saying, "Go and get coal in," and going down with a barrow and putting it in coal house. You know, it was
yeah.
so amazing that we were so similar. And he said, you know, words to the effect of, "I can't believe it. I always thought you guys like were so rich and that you know." And I was like, "You've no idea. We're all the same, mate. Honestly, we are." You know, so I remember waking up that morning, sort of. I don't know whether I woke up or not really, because I'm not sure if it were like real, but I
Oh, you
woke
just
up.
go around, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was just never. I remember if anyone's ever prayed to stop breathing, that's what I was doing. I was just,
oh.
I've never felt pain like it in my life. I thought never. So I'm very, very careful of doing what you did yesterday. So you did it very well. You were very well measured. Yeah, obviously, because you're up and
Yeah, I've had lots of practice. Hope my kids aren't watching now.
up. Oh, brilliant. So what's next? What's the plan after you leave there?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much what we did. Last year, so we have up to 12 months to leave the bikes here. We've
Yeah.
already sourced a place to leave the bikes here, and we will fly back within the 12 months. Hopefully, you know, kind of end of September, early October again. Weather should be okay. We've been looking at different directions to go, and we pretty much decided that the north section rather than the south section. So from here, we need to go back into, again, because of borders, we need to go back into Georgia, which is really a day's ride. We then will have sorted out visas for Russia. So we're passing through Russia. We should be able to get through Russia in 3 to 4 days, and then into Kazakhstan. We haven't yet looked at that side of it, how far we may want to get. We generally do this in 4 to 5 weeks anyway. So that's the kind of span we have. We want then to come south from Kazakhstan. We don't know how long we may spend in Kazakhstan and which stand we may go into from there. Which ones you can leave your bike for up to 12 months again, looking ahead again.
That's
So
something
that's
you're considering as you do that about,
Yeah.
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 Like, I mean, you know, around the world eventually, literally means eventually.
We haven't put a time frame on it.
You know. And do you know what it is? It's like so many people have gone around the world on bikes, and like Nick Sanders holding the
Record,
the
yeah.
record for the fastest time around the world on a bike, and probably the fastest time around the world on an electric bike. And I think he was the fastest time around the world on a bicycle at some point. And then there's other people going around the world on different things, but I don't think anybody is doing it the way we are,
No.
because we're kind of tiptoeing around the world, and we're kind of enjoying all the flavors of everything that we come across, and the people that we meet.
Yeah,
But what we find interesting is that we've been doing this for a number of years now with the old bikes, and
yeah,
now we find that the likes of Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman are now doing it with old bikes, and Itchy Boots, Nora Lee, she's doing it with an old bike as well.
yeah.
So they're all copying us, is what we think. You know,
I
we're
think you're
trying.
right. Yeah, there might be some copyright issues there you need to explore.
Oh, yes, I thought so too.
We're trendsetters, we are.
No, but joking aside, you're absolutely right. Just the way you're doing it is unique, you know. And the only person, well, I don't know him, but someone wants to be a guest on this podcast, and they contacted me, and he's still working. This guy, full time, as a youngish lad, and I don't think he's called it anything like around the world eventually or anything. But he said that what he does is he wants to go around the world in his annual leave. So what he does is he goes for 2 weeks and rides whatever distance he can in that time, sees where he wants to see, and then he either leaves the bike if it's pop like you guys, or is rented it, and then he goes home and earns enough to have his next holiday, and comes back and then tries to land as near as possible to where he left it, and does another bit of a journey.
I hope he's a young guy because it's good. By the sounds of it, it's going to take him forever.
I said to him, I said, well, I don't know how much leave. I used to get 6 weeks annual leave. I said, so you're probably going to take you about 15 years at this rate.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'm up for that. So we'll see what he's got to say when he comes on the podcast.
Yeah, well, like we're at the stage, like, we've called it around the world eventually, and that's what we ultimately would like to do. But we have no idea where it's going to take us,
No.
right? It's like sometimes we head out on the bike with no idea where we're going to sleep that night, or even where we're going to finish up.
Yeah.
The bikes that we have with us, ultimately, we are already resigned to the fact that they're never going home.
Right.
Because we've gone so far away from home that it would be too expensive to ship them back home again. So we could find ourselves maybe in India somewhere, just handing the keys to a young lad, say, "Here's a bike for you." We honestly don't know, but we'll keep going as far as we can and as long as we can. And by God, we're going to have to crack while we do it. Like,
yeah. You know what? I mean, it's amazing, really. You might, by the way, if you were to sell those bikes in Turkey, you'd get about 100 grand for them, because prices. Not that you can, but not that you can sell anything because it's so difficult. But yeah, prices in some countries is crazy. But it's interesting that that you don't know where it's going to end, because you just don't, do you? And that's a nice thing, because I think one of the things about every adventure, even if it's a holiday, is there's this psychological thing. If you go on a 2 week holiday, at the Saturday of the second week, you start thinking, oh, I'm halfway through now. Downhill slope. You hear people saying, how long are you here for? 2 weeks, but been here 8 days now. So I'm, downhill. And I'm like, oh my God. Are we really? So, just think positively. But if you haven't got an end point, if you haven't got an end date or an end journey or an end place, you're never going to get that, are you?
And when we head off on these trips, we don't book a return flight because we've no idea where we're going to return from. So we book a one-way flight from Dublin
Yeah.
to wherever we've left the bikes. And we're now so far away that we can't get a direct flight. We have to do a two-stage flight.
Yeah.
But we don't book a return flight. Now, while we're away, we do have to kind of decide, well, where we're going to leave the bikes this time, and is it close to an airport and all that kind of stuff. But there's so much of the unknown when we set out, which actually adds to the adventure and the excitement of it.
Yeah, definitely. It does. It adds to it. It adds to the adventure. It adds to the excitement, and it also adds to that, as I say, that not having that end thing, because that's a big psychological thing. Must be really, amazing that. So, we've now, we haven't really looked at your first part of the trip, but we could maybe do that at some point. We've looked at, yes, last year, or stuff you've done really in depth before that. What's, if anything, I know you've got the rest of this journey and then flying home. When you come back, roughly what you're going to do. Have you got, when you have eventually gone round the world. See how I turned that wording round. It's
Very
good
good.
for a Yorkshireman, that. Being able to think like that.
That was pretty good, yeah.
For me, that's good, that. Then what? Is there anything else? We've done it. We're around the world. We're 67 now.
Yeah.
We're probably going to have to sit down and have a few points and come up with another idea. You know, I mean, I mean, I come up with all these mad ideas in my head, and I'm thinking maybe we could, like, there's an interesting one in Ireland, for example, in the Northern Ireland. There's a pub up in Donegal area. There's a pub called the North Pole,
Right.
and down in the south of Ireland, in Kerry, way down the south of Ireland, there's a pub called the South Pole.
Right.
So you get guys and they ride from the North Pole to the South Pole. Right. But I think it'd be interesting to do it on something completely different. You know, something a bit wacky. So I haven't figured that one out yet. But anyway, yeah. So we don't know. Like we come up with mad ideas, and you know, and it's usually over a few points, and we go, oh, that's a good idea, you know. And then next morning you wake up and go, oh God, what have I agreed to? You know.
He's just bought himself a scooter, a 400 Bergman.
I bought a Bergman 400 scooter.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a motorhome, you see, and I generally spend a month in France on the motorhome during the summer. And I have a Honda C90, and it was a 34-year-old Honda C90. I had that with me, but it started rusting because I'm on the beach and you get to see air. And so I said, oh, I don't want that to rust. So I bought a Bergman 404 Bergman, and I'm going to be bringing that with me the next time. So maybe we'll do something with scooters. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been thinking maybe.
It's still a two-wheel.
I've got a friend who sells scooters. His bike shop specifically sells scooters. Well, they do sell motorbikes as well, but predominantly they do things like, is it LML and LMN or something? It's an Indian copy of the old Lambrettas and Vespas and stuff, and they look great. You know, they look great. And but there's it's an interesting thing. 'Cause it's like a parallel but different scene scooters, isn't it? If you like, and I always think they are bikes, whatever you like. You know, the motorcycles, one way or another, they're two wheels and an engine. So I've never been one of those, you know, mods and rockers type.
Rockers, yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember pulling up on my bike. I don't know what, I think I were on a Triumph Thunderbird, and I saw all these helmets on a wall of a pub, and it were boiling. And I'm coming back from wherever, and I thought, oh, loads of bikes I'll pull in. And I pulled in, they're all scooters. And I pulled in, they're all, you want to see them. They all looked at me as if I like alien. I was like, all right. I thought, that's a bit out of place here. But they were not, you know, when we got talking, they were just same as everybody else, and just happened to be on scooters. But it's, I just listened to a podcast about someone, American. I think I'm sure it was American, and he'd bought a Bergman scooter. And it's actually, if you Google it or look on the podcast search, it's something about so and so's Bergman. If you put Bergman as a key word,
Yeah.
it'll find it. So yeah, interesting. And I've had a Honda C90. In fact, if he's listening, Khalid, who is a doctor who is a motorcycle, British Motorcycle Group member, who bought my Honda C90 off me many years ago. I said, I want first refusal if you sell it, but I suspect he's sold it, or it's still in his shed and he's not told me. So if you're looking, Khalid, I want that back. Same price as what I sold it to you, 750, I think it was, 750 quid. Because I'm not letting you have all the interest off that. And it was it was F-Reg 1980, not the original F, but in the UK, you know, they went from suffix, prefix. I think it was a 1985, something like that. It was nice, classic red. And I used to listen to that old, what was his name? Irish guy that did that My Little Honda My Honda 50. It's I love it. Love it. I used to listen to it all the time. Oh, my little Honda 50. You remember? He did that video with the guy that chasing him and stuff.
Yeah, to do 150 on a windy day.
That's it. 250 on a windy day.
Uh,
Bought it off a travelling man and all that. Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Great song.
Yeah, great song. Yeah. So yeah, I want that back. Um, so what do you put it on? Do you put this on the back of your motorhome then when you go out? So you've got
The motorhome, I actually can get the Honda 90 into the boot of the motorhome.
it's got one of them big boots, has it?
But with the scooter now, I have a trailer, so I'm going to throw a trailer behind it.
Right.
But what you call it? I had a BMW RT 1200 at one stage. I used to tow behind the camper on a trailer, but that was a bit heavy, So
We've got a caravan, and I've toyed with the idea of getting a motorhome. I mean, they're so expensive. Like the cost of an house here in Yorkshire, they're expensive. And well, obviously it depends what you get, but they've gone. I think since the pandemic, they've probably doubled in price. It's the
oh yeah.
even cost of them. But I never know. One of the great things about having a caravan, although there's lots of drawbacks about the time it takes to set up and stuff, is that when you get there, you can drive off and go and do what you want and leave your home there. My worry about getting a motorhome is then am I stuck there unless I've got some transport.
Yeah, but you see, if you've got a motorhome, now you have to bring the bike with you too.
Yeah, you see.
That just to me is the best holiday ever.
You've got everything, haven't you?
You didn't think of that one, did you?
Oh, hey, you've got everything. Also, I am not towing a under five, what them little Fiat 500 behind my motorhome.
No, no,
No
no. You
way.
have to bring the bike.
Gonna be a bike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So what about I'm thinking now, let your trip go a little bit, take your mind back home. I just wondered what you thought, because you've been biking for 45 years-ish, like me, haven't you? What do you think about what's your observations about motorcycling in Europe? So I've wrote on there for me to remind me, in Ireland, in UK, in Europe, very similar in UK and Ireland, I think. But I don't know about Europe, mainland. What's your observations about where it's at, the community of it, and how it's changed since we started?
Excellent question. Yeah, look, I think we all know the demographic, the age group. I mean, there just aren't as many younger guys getting in. I mean, certainly, I mentioned how easy it was when I started. Just got your license, went around the corner. Now you need to a minimum of so many hours. That has to be certified. They made it more difficult to get your license, and easier to lose it,
Yeah,
rather than back in the day it was so easy to get it and much harder to lose it. There was no point
And
system.
insurance and everything is much more expensive now. And as Damian said, the age demographic, like you pull up anywhere, or you see a group of bikers pulling up, and when they take their helmets off, they're either bald or grey. There's no
the
young
only
guys.
place I feel younger than the average person.
Well, yeah, but there's no young guys. So, like, unfortunately, we seem to be a dying breed. Like,
Yeah,
but France, Spain, all these places, it's gone more scooters,
Yes.
than bikes, and they're small little things, and it's
yeah,
purely just to get in around the city, and But in terms of proper bikes, yeah, it's just seems to be older people. Like,
yeah, yeah. What if you were to try and encourage? I mean, I don't know about your kids. You said you got one of each. I've got two boys and a girl, and the two boys ride, although they've not passed the test. They're both on 125s, because they got to 17, like so many young people, straight away passed the car test, and then they got their typical Opel Corsa, Vauxhall Corsa, whatever, and that's it. They've got the bike, and it's in my shed, so I have to insure it and tax and test it for them. Daft dad.
well,
I only know when I get my bank statement and it says um, whatever it is, I think DVLA, and it's like got the registration, that I remember I'm paying for their tax monthly on all their bikes, but they've quickly gone into having a car, and so many young people do now. because it's so difficult to get to pass your bike test. And I don't know about in Ireland, but in the UK, you're limited to a 125 if you pass a CBT, if you've got a car license. You can't go bigger than that. Is that
Well, in Ireland, it's kind of it's still all European law. So the different categories. Then you've got your 125s. There's an A1, and then you go up then to an A2, and then the full A.
Yeah.
And you can, like, you have to be a certain age to ride the bigger bikes, and then sometimes you can go up to the bigger bike. You pass your test in the A2, and you can go to the full A then with extra training. And there's all this kind of stuff going on. It's a mind.
That is the same in the UK, actually. We kept that bit when we left with Brexit. Don't want to start talking about that, but yeah, Christ's sake, let's not talk about that. But I do know that all the now UK law is just they must have gone on to Word. You know, when you can say replace.
Yeah.
Where it says European, they went replace with British, and they just
Yeah.
they print them off because nothing's changed. Not that I
Yeah.
necessarily wanted it to, and let my allegiances lay there. But
at home, like bike insurance is expensive, and then it's almost more expensive than car insurance for like 20-something-year-olds. Like, so they're obviously going to go to cars, my two kids, my son, no interest in driving car or bike, and my daughter has a car, and she said, at some stage I'm going to ride a bike, and I'm going, no, you're not. I worked as a driving test examiner for 25 years.
Right.
And now I own a small little driving school, and I now teach on a part-time basis.
Right.
And I was teaching bikes and cars, and so I've seen it from both sides, and it's kind of, it's so expensive for young people to get going that they're priced out of the market, basically.
Yeah.
A shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a few. Well, bike. I mentioned the guy who sells scooters. They do motorcycle training and CBTs and training, and he says that once a kid gets a car license, getting them to come and spend $1,000 to learn how to ride a bike, and then buy it, insure it, tax it, buy all the gear, almost inconceivable that they're not going to bother. You know.
The other thing, then, it's very hard to walk past the car on a wet day.
Yeah. Yeah. And we get lots of wet days in England and Ireland, don't we?
I'm a bit strange. I don't mind if I'm out on the bike and it starts to rain. No problem. I put the gear on, I ride it all day. But what I hate is actually going out when it's raining.
Oh, yeah. I don't pretend when people say, "Oh, fair weather rider." I'm like, absolutely. No way. I'm going to look out there and it's pissing it down and think, "Oh, you know what? I fancy a ride on my bike."
Well, we were sitting here and we were kind of thinking, where do we go from here in the next leg of the trip? And we kind of said, well, we could go up Russia and Kazakhstan, and we're kind of going, oh, it could be cold, the weather could be bad up there. And then we looked and we could go Iran and Pakistan, and we're kind of going, it's definitely going to be warm there. But the only thing is it's a bit more dangerous, so it's going to be Russia and Kazakhstan. So
brilliant.
I better get some new rain gear.
Yeah, you better do. So what in thinking about that, then thinking about what we've just said, I think we all agree about how difficult it is, and how not just how difficult it is for them, but for young people to get involved in riding. If somebody said to you, you've got the answer to this, Neil. Now you just told me that you're, an instructor, and I've been for a lot of years, so I didn't know that. So what advice would you give to someone who wanted to get involved in riding, whether they're young or old? What would you say? Where would you start? Both of you. I mean, what gear, what bike, what would you just do a CBT? What would you do? What's your advice?
Well, the first thing is to get the training, definitely, and to get good training. There are guys out there who kind of, they're not giving the proper training. You need to get good training. So don't just pick somebody out of the, off the internet, or out of the phone book. Ask around. Check out the reviews and pick somebody good, somebody recommended.
Yeah.
Once you've got the good training, then buy a bike that you're comfortable on, something that you can sit there, put your feet on the ground, that you can relax on, that you're not going to be like, you don't want a pocket rocket on your first bike because you're going to pains in your wrists and pains in your back, and you're not going to enjoy the true biking experience. And then thirdly, then is the proper gear. If you don't have the gear, you're going to be cold and wet, and you're going to hate it. So that's my advice.
Well, a guy came to me maybe 5 years ago, guy our age, and he was only getting in. He actually retired, decided he was getting a bike. Had never had a bike as a teenager, unlike
yeah. Some people are like that.
What bike should I buy? And I scratched my head for a little while, and I thought, what is a very good starter bike for someone? And what I came up with, and he bought and never looked back, was the Deauville. The Deauville 650.
Not the Honda Deauville.
That's what I'm going to say, known as the Deauville, but massively reliable and steady.
Reliable all-rounder, has everything going for that bike. And you know what? He did buy one. He never looked back, and he agreed. So, that would be a kind of a great starter bike. Really reliable thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're of a certain age in order to be able to ride a 650 or 700 now.
Yeah.
But
I think you're going to be 24, and if you pass your test after 24, you can have I think I forgot what they call it now, but something direct access. Yeah, you can go straight to a big bike. But yeah, right, okay.
What's interesting is in the UK they you put the L plate, big L stuck to the bike.
Yeah.
In Ireland they wear the L on a yellow bib.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, both my sons used to take the L plate off the front, and I used to say, "You're going to get pulled by the police for taking it off. Put it back on." And they'll go, and they said, "Well, you don't have to have a number plate on the front anymore." And I said, "So what's that? I'm not interested in that. You've got to have an L plate on the back and an L plate on the front." Yeah, but everyone looks stupid. Everyone knows I'm a learner.
Yeah. Well, in Ireland they have to wear a yellow bib with the L on the back. They don't need it on the front of the yellow bib, just on the back.
Oh, that is pushing it. You can see why people would want to pass the test there then.
Well, you see them coming in for the driving test. You see about 4 or 5 bikes coming in for the driving test, and one guy is out with the yellow bib, and then he comes back and gives us the next guy, and then the next guy, and the next guy.
But the thing with my 2 boys, because they've passed the test on a car, one's 18, one's 29. Actually, is he? No, he's 30 now, the older one. They have to do their CBT every 2 years. You can do it as much as you want, up to a 125 with L plates, with the CBT, the compulsory basic training. But that's not the actual driving test, whether the A1 or the limited under 40 brake horsepower or whatever it is, 15 is it, whatever. So they have to keep doing it, and it costs. It's about 130, 140 quid now every 2 years. Plus, insurers, they don't consider themselves to be learners. They're only wearing these L plates because it's technically you've got to. I know people that have been riding on L plates for like 35 years, very experienced, but they're happy just to have a 125 or a scooter or whatever. But it's interesting. So what do you think will change? You think we'll just get older and we'll all die off? And is that how it is? Or will we go the way of Europe? Will people start using scooters?
Well, I think ultimately I'll end up going from a motorbike to maybe a mobility scooter with a big fuck-off engine on it.
Hayabusa engine in one of them little...
And I'm like this, and then I'll be going, "Where's my mobility scooter?" And I'll be on that.
Don't know what to think about it. I have to say, I don't know what to think. We talked about this about electric bikes.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. We don't. Neither of us know enough about them.
No, there's no engine. You can't hear it or nothing. There's no oil. There's no smell of it. It's God, no.
So I'm not anti-electric, but I don't want one. But I've got different views, I guess, a balanced view, I think. And the reason I have is, I don't know if I mentioned it when I spoke to you, but my son, when he was 16, my wife wouldn't let him have a bike. So she said, "I don't want him having a motorbike." So I had to be creative. How am I going to get around this? So for his 16th birthday, I bought him an electric moped, but not a scooter, a motorbike. Looks like a motorbike. So for all intents and purposes, it had a removable battery. So under the tank, fake false tank, like on a BMW GS 700, F700 GS, false tank, lift the battery out. You can charge it in situ or you can charge it out of the bike. And it looked like a bike. Now, the law says no more than 29 miles an hour and no more than 15 horsepower for a moped. Or is it? Yeah, 15, I think it is. So this was moped equivalent. It had a range of about 40 miles, but college, school for sixth form were 4 miles away. So actually, for him, and the fact that it didn't do above 30 didn't matter because you can't anyway on a moped. If I'd have bought him a petrol moped, it's still only done that. Or I've got a little bit of electrical knowledge, so I de-restricted it for him. Just a little bit because I thought if he's doing 30, not many people do 30 in a 30, so it's going to put him in danger. Especially coming from college, he goes onto a short A road, which is a 40. And I thought, I don't want him to be stuck, getting overtook by everything. So I de-restricted it, which made it do about 45. Plus, it reduced the range a bit. But for him, only doing 4 miles, and he charged it every night at home, it didn't matter. Cost about 50 pence to charge, and he did it about every 3 days. And when it came, the guy delivered it for me. I was like, oh, looks amazing. I'll put a picture on. Looked great. And so obviously I had to have a go. Now I'm a big bloke. I look like a pea on a pod, but it don't matter. You know, I don't care. I've gone past the point, thank God, of caring what I look like. You know, I used to care a lot about what I look like, and I think, oh, I better. But now I'm like, oh, okay. So I just got on it, you know, and zoomed off. And the only thing I can liken it to, for me anyway, first time I'd ridden one, was sailing, if you've ever done that, or gliding, or anything where you're not powered by something, even though you can't feel it. Feels like it's just the wind. It's like,
I hope you weren't having to tack against the wind on it.
oh well, I had to breathe in, so I didn't have to do that. But that's how it felt. I thought, wow, this it's a bit like freedom. It just felt it's just twist and go, front and back brake. And I just like, and the torque. No, I've never had a moped that could set off like that. I was like, wow. Had 3 rider modes: economy, normal, and sport. Obviously, I thought I better put it in sport if it's going to carry 20 odd stone around. So I was like, boom, and it were off, and I thought, wow. And I really, you know, went for a little ride about 4 or 5 miles, and I come back and I thought, I want one. Not instead of, but as well as. I want it as a toy, you know, I want one. And we insured it for him, and he loved it. And he did come off it. And I said, you know, and how we got round my wife saying he couldn't have one is, it got delivered and she said, what's that? And I said, oh, it's an electric push bike. And she said, well, it looks like a motorbike. I said, oh, it looks like one. I said, but it's not actually a motorbike. And I know you didn't want him to have one. And she was like, right, okay. And they wear an helmet. I said, oh, yeah, I'll wear an helmet and everything. I'll get him all the gear, which I did. I wouldn't want him going out without proper gear. So I knew the inevitable would come one day when he said, Dad, yeah, come off my bike on a roundabout near Asda. And I was like, he says, I just hit some oil, like diesel on it, and it's just front end slips out. I said, well, are you all right? Yeah, I've got a bit of a hole in me jacket. And I was like, well, don't worry about that. He says, and my foot peg snapped off. So I said, okay. I said, well, look, can you put your foot somewhere else and get home, or do you want me to come out for you? No, I'll get home. I'll limp it home. Well, he did. He come home. And I ordered, it was the little subframe hanger for it. And actually the peg hadn't snapped. It was a little hanger that bolted onto snapped. Made out of Chinesium, you know, and it just like snapped. So I managed to get, you know, I ordered one and put it on it. But he was shook up a little bit, but I always said to him, you know, you just always have to be aware. And I know at 16, I was 16 once on a moped. You go round a roundabout, and if you don't think, oh, it's a bit wet and there might be some diesel, Chinese hard plastic tires, then there's a potential for coming off, and he did. But it was fine. He carried on using it, and we sold it. Passed his car test. That were it. Never wanted to go on it again, so I sold it. But I can see the benefits around town for a kid who wants to plug it in, 50 pence worth electric, go to college, go to school, deliver a Deliveroo or whatever. I can see that. I can see that side of it. But I don't think it's the future for bikes, if I'm honest. And I know that keeping up with things, they're going bankrupt left, right, and centre at the moment.
To do the kind of thing we do, like where you might do maybe 400 kilometers in a day or whatever, I mean, I can't see that on an electric bike.
No, I don't think so.
And particularly going off road and up into the mountains and all, where you'd be using more power. You really don't want to run out of battery up in the top of the mountain somewhere,
No, you don't. I said to Bob when I interviewed him, sorry, I've interrupted you, but I remember just saying to him last week, I think that the only answer I can potentially think of is that they either have swappable batteries. And I know that there's some car companies are now doing that. And I read about a year ago that Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, and Suzuki have all gone into partnership to have the same fitting of swappable battery in the Far East. So in a nutshell, it's just like you go into a charging place, you put your debit card contactless, and it charges you your 10 quid or whatever. And you put your battery in on charge, it locks it, and you take another one. It doesn't matter if you get a duff one, you've swapped your good one for a bad one because you're only using it until you charge it again. You click it into place and you're off. I think that's certainly for urban use, that's a good one. And the other is when they come up with solid state batteries, 10-minute charge and a 300-mile range. Maybe it'll make them more usable, or some sort of hybrid fuel. That these like I don't know, like I know some of the racing companies are coming up with these cleaner fuels, and maybe that will save the internal combustion engine for us. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope so.
But then you miss all the fun of trying to fix the oil leak and trying to,
You missed your oil leak before we go. And I was just going to say, have you got anything else to tell us about? Tell us about your oil leak, Neil.
Well, it's fixed.
Yeah, that tell us what you've told us. You've given us some tantalizing tips.
Right. So what happened with the bike was
trail.
What happened with the bike was when we got to Greece to collect the bike, and because it's a kickstart, and because it's a Suzuki DR650, there's a definite way of doing it, like with the decompression lever and everything else. So I was kicking the bike over 3 or 4 times to prime it up, and then it just stopped and I couldn't kick it anymore. So the engine had locked. So we had to bring it to a local garage because the cylinder head had to come off it, and I couldn't do that because I didn't have enough tools. If I was at home, I could do it, no problem, but I just didn't have enough tools with me. And the guy that did the job, he got it freed out and he put the cylinder head back on it, and that was all grand. But when he was putting the rocker cover on, he must have cross-threaded one of the bolts.
Right.
And it was left loose. And what he did was he put some silicone sealer on it and he glued it in. So we headed off the road. We got maybe 100, 150 kilometers up the road, and there was oil spewing out of this, where the bolt had literally shot up out of it, and there was oil all over my leg and my boot and all down the side of the bike. There was a spray of oil on Damian's screen on his bike behind me. That's how much oil came out. So we had to get towed into another place in Kavala, was it?
It was in Greece, northern
No,
Greece.
in Kavala. We went to Greece. We got towed into a beautiful, beautiful town called Kavala, and there was a bike shop there, and your man was okay, and he put a wider bolt into it, and he got some thread to hold, which kind of slowed down the leak, and that was as best as he could do. And then we went from there then into Turkey, and in Turkey then we found a backstreet garage, and he took the rocker cover off it and retapped the hole, the threaded, and put in a new bolt, and that solved that problem. But the original guy in Greece had damaged the O-rings on the oil return pipe.
Right.
Okay. And I couldn't get O-rings for it. And so literally I've done 4,000 kilometers since we picked up the bikes to Yerevan. And in Yerevan, not yesterday, day before yesterday, I dropped it around to the bike shop, and they popped this oil thing down, put into new oil O-rings on it, put it back up. It's perfect. And not only that, they then washed the bike. No. Only problem with that is my weight plate is legible now.
Was it reasonable price? Was it cheap?
€25.
Amazing, isn't it?
And so I've no oil leak now. The bike is bone dry, which is fantastic. But my gear
with oil included. Did they refill it with oil for that €25? But did they refill it with oil as well? Have they put some more oil in it?
He topped up the oil, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the €25, yeah.
It's amazing. Wow. You know what? Well, sorry, you were just about to say something.
No, I'm just a quick one about my bike. My bike has had a couple of little issues as well, but by and large, it's been fine. But I've always, from the time that we got this bike for this trip, and Neil is the more mechanically knowledge than me.
Right.
I would always say, well, he has a single cylinder, so if the engine goes, I mean, he's in trouble. I got the Transalp because it's two cylinders, and if one breaks down, I'll be still okay with the other one. You know?
Like an eco engine, it fires on one.
I keep telling him it doesn't work that way, but anyway.
But as it happens, that's exactly what's gone wrong, because there's two little ECUs there, one for each cylinder to tell how to fire, and one of them has been acting up on mine. So exactly what has happened is it's actually working away on one cylinder.
Wow.
Like, I'm traveling behind him and he's going along and he says, "Oh, I'm losing power, and all I can smell is petrol." And I kind of go, "Oh shit," you know. God. But we've kept it going. We had to put a little switch for the fan and bypass the thermostat and the rad, and there's bits falling off the bodywork of it.
Yeah, that's side of the road. We call it side of the road guntering. Guntering, that's what we call
otherwise
it.
known as budging in England. Budging, you know. But what you call this? Yeah, but he's learning. Like, I'm teaching him, he's learning. It's grand.
Oh, it'll be a fully blown budger before you know it.
Right. You know. You want to see his toolbox at home. He's got a vice grips and a hammer.
Just a hammer. That's I've only got an hammer.
Oh yeah.
Fabulous. You know what? Brilliant. It's great. I'm really. I feel almost as if I want to be there in Armenia with you. I really feel that, because you're my type of people. Just having an older bike, being able to mess around with it, accept that something might go wrong, and if it does, actually, there and then it might be, oh my God, damn it. But actually, looking back, that's a massive part of the adventure, isn't it? Really.
It's all part of the adventure, and that's it. Like,
Yeah, it's fab, amazing.
And like life, not just what we're doing now, but your whole life is an adventure.
Yeah,
and everything that happens to you in that life is all part of that big adventure. So you've just got to always keep looking at the horizon and going, that's the way I'm going.
Well, we know a song about that, don't we?
Yeah.
Always look on the bright side of life.
And we haven't even had a drink. Oh, Jesus.
Imagine if we had. That's why I thought we'd do it in the afternoon, because I thought us three will never. Yeah. It'll be just like unpublishable.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, guys. You know what? Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure that people will really love to have listened to it and listened to the journey. I'm sure they will. I hope that I have, definitely.
If anyone would like to continue following us on our journey, they could check us out on Around the World Eventually on YouTube, and also Around the World Eventually on Instagram. Fantastic. And then we've also set up another Facebook page called
Old Biker Adventures.
Old Bikers Adventures.
Old Biker. I'm not joining that.
Yeah. But our main one is on YouTube, and as I said, we don't edit things. Everything we put up there is raw. Now there's only one edited one on it, and I sent it home to my son because he's doing all that stuff on computer. And let's just say the vocals, we couldn't let anybody hear what we were saying. So I got him to put some music over it, and then we kind of we uploaded that one. But what you call it? Like as I said, everything is raw. It's not edited, and it's usually put up on our phone while we're sitting in the pub having a pint at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's just join in, have the fun. At the moment, we don't have huge numbers in the subscriptions, but we'd love to get a whole lot more. So
Yeah, of course.
please join us and hit subscribe.
Definitely, guys. Yeah. So people who are listening, please do that. Please go and have a look on YouTube at Around the World Eventually. And old bikers,
Old biker adventures.
old biker adventures on Facebook, and also on Instagram, Around the World Eventually.
Yeah.
And I'll post some links at the end of this, guys, for you, so people
Thank
can
you.
click on it and have a look. So, we're in
Thanks.
the.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been great
Yeah,
fun.
you too, both of you. It's been absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate it. So keep in touch with us, don't you? Let us know. Join the group if you haven't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a big part of our podcast is that one of the things is that we learn about other members of the group and what they're doing in the world by doing these podcasts, not just by other people, telling us about it. So please join the group, and we will definitely follow you. And I'll encourage everyone on the British Motorcycling Group as well to follow you as well. So hopefully we'll get a few there. But it'd be really, really nice to keep in touch. Just drop us a line every so often. Give us a call if we can help you in any way. There's a lot of people with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. Just ask, and if I can help you when you're out on your journeys, if there's anything that you really stuck and you need something sent in to you or whatever, I can be your fixer for that. So I won't add anything either. So just honest. I'll send you. I'll photocopy your receipt for you. No, but honestly, if I can help in any way, just ask.
Thanks.
If you're ever in this neck of the woods, give us a shout and come and have a cup of tea.
Well, we'll be knocking on your door for a cup of tea.
Yeah. Well, you can. Honestly, you're welcome. Come and stay over. We can go and have a drink. It'd be good.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks again.
Cheers, Ian.
All right.
Thank you.
All the best, lads. See
All
you
right,
soon.
take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Right, I'm going to stop it from recording now.
Oh, you happy with that?
Brilliant. But I still haven't stopped it recording yet.
Oh, still recording.
How long have we been up for, Ian?
That was 2 hours and 9 minutes.
Wow.
No. Okay.
I didn't know you could talk that much.
Oh yeah. Well, you didn't have any chance for me, did you?
No, I was thinking him.
I think we're all as bad as each other. Right, I'm going to stop it. So this will be on there as well. So this is a nice little ending to it. See you guys.
Yeah.